Hey, Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja, and today we're going to talk about how much does crawl space repair actually cost? Stay tuned. Okay, so there's a lot of information about this subject out there on the internet. So what we've done is we've kind of compiled a few different sources and come up with some national averages for how much does crawl space repair cost. Now keep in mind that crawl space repair is a very broad statement. To you, crawl space repair may be just fixing insulation. Maybe you just want somebody to come in and yank out the old fiberglass and put up new fiberglass. Well, something like that, you're probably looking anywhere between $500 and $1,500 depending on how big your crawl space is. And that's another factor. How big is your crawl space? How tall is your crawl space? If you've got a crawl space that's 2.5 feet tall and it's harder to maneuver, it's going to cost more man hours to address than a crawl space that's maybe 4 feet tall. If you've got a 6 foot tall crawl space and you're insulating the walls, it's going to take more material and man hours to insulate the walls of a 6 foot crawl space than it is a 4 foot crawl space. So all of these things have to be thought about and talked about during your inspection process. By the way, if you want to make sure you hire a good crawl space contractor, check out this video down below for some tips on hiring a crawl space encapsulation professional in your area. But let's get back to the subject at hand. What do you want done? Do you need a dehumidifier? Do you want a dehumidifier? Do you have mold? Do you not have mold? Do you have insulation? Do you need black plastic? Do you want encapsulation where the vapor barrier goes all the way up the walls? Do you need foundation or structural repair? All of these are factors. We've actually come up with 4 specific areas to kind of give you a better ballpark about how much crawl space repair costs. So let's start with crawl space encapsulation. Since crawl space encapsulation means different things to different people, and depending on the size of your crawl space, let's take about 1,000 to 1,500 square foot crawl space, you're probably looking at about $5,000 to $15,000 just to encapsulate. We would consider encapsulation removing and replacing the vapor barrier, making sure it's insulated, installing a dehu, making sure it's properly ventilated. Then you come with the next step, mold. All right, so if your crawl space doesn't have mold, you're looking between $5,000 and $15,000 to encapsulate. If you have mold, that's different. How are you going to address the mold? Are you just going to squirt the joist with some kind of cleaner? Are you going to soda blast and then put on a cleaner? Are you going to soda blast cleaner and then put on a preventative? So all these things kind of have a range, if you will. So according to national averages, what you're looking at just to address mold, not including encapsulation, you're looking at about $5,000 to $7,800. Now that also takes in consideration like a living space. So let's say you had 1,000 square foot house and you needed a water restoration company to come in and address mold. That statistic kind of includes that. Well, it's harder to address mold in a crawl space. So, that $5,000 to $7,800 could be a little more if it's soda blasting or if you got an air seal, different things like that. The other thing we want to talk about is foundation repair. So if you've got a lot of fungal growth, or you had termite damage, or you have, you bought an old house that was built in the 60s and the floor joist span was really far, and now you just put in new countertops and that grand piano and you're putting all this stress on your floor where you're going to need some post jacks and some I-beams or whatever it is your local crawl space contractor does. If you've got like sinking walls, the footers are messed up and you got to put in helical piers, that can get expensive. Okay, so foundation repair can it be anywhere between $4,000 to $10,000 depending on what all has to be done. You may need some wood recisterned or a rim joist rebuilt. There's a lot of variances. Okay, and then lastly, believe it or not, this is not included in crawl space encapsulation either, is addressing standing water, because not every crawl space needs to address standing water. So the statistic for water to address standing water in a crawl space could be anywhere between $3,000 and $10,000 depending on the size of the crawl space. Do you need multiple sump pumps? Do you have water in the middle of the crawl space percolating up versus just coming through the outside? Are you near a body of water that's causing a lot of water intrusion to come in? Do you need to address water inside the crawl space as well as rerouting downspouts and maybe putting in a French drain? So all those things can add up, and that can be expensive. So what we found is that crawl space encapsulation, if you add all of those things together, could be on the low end $5,000 and on the high end $35,000, depending on how much repair your crawl space needs. So what I would do if I was you is make sure you choose a company that's got a good reputation. Make sure you choose a company that doesn't base their estimates on the neighborhood you live in. Okay, all of our estimates are actually based on the size of your crawl space. If you're living in a neighborhood where all of the houses around you are 1,000 square feet and your house is 2,500 square feet, well, guess what? You're gonna be more expensive to fix because you have a bigger crawl space, okay? If you want a 12 mil vapor barrier versus a 10 mil, or you want a larger dehumidifier versus a smaller dehumidifier, you want soda blasting versus non-soda blasting to address mold, all of that has to do with the cost of crawl space repair in your area. So just make sure you do your research, do your homework, and then if you need to get multiple estimates, obviously get multiple estimates and do a comparison of what each crawl space contractor is going to do, and then choose the one that you think is going to do the best job and it's going to be around long enough to service those mechanical devices that they put in the crawl space. And we hope that was good information about how much does crawl space repair cost. I'm Michael Church, and I appreciate you watching this video, and I hope you make it a happy and blessed day. We'll see you later.